musician Ed Roman, and it's great to be here on the show, talk with Joe. And I've been playing music since I was a kid. I mean, a long time, since the 70s. And I grew up, man, you know, in that time frame where like lyrics, you know, were sort of like a weapon. And it was always like a challenge in some way to learn those lyrics. They ended up becoming like a big part of your life, and you know how you kind of wielded your moral code, let's say. For me, the foundation of songwriting, storytelling, was some sort of, you know, code or moral idea behind the whole bigger picture. Was a big part of why I started songwriting. But you know, music encompasses so many things. I love all kinds of music, from country music and funk and folk music, jazz, R&B, you know, whatever it is. If it's got some kind of a message or something like that, that's what I'm kind of all about. And you know, when I write, that's usually kind of where I'm headed, with some kind of a, you know, a feeling behind something that's really moving me, whether it's a personal experience, something else that's going on, or who knows what I heard in the news that day, you know.
Any other human being whose cruciform control, no longer in search of meaning, I'll utilize my soul to be a messenger, to be a radical, to be love. Be a messenger, be a radical, be love. Falling from the matrix, why is what can set you free. And if you look behind the curtain and then into the mirror, then I think you'll see. Be a messenger, be a radical, catches up with us all. The scars that you get each day make you stronger somehow in some way. Look for your own truth in your heart when it's bold. You know, it may seem like a coda, but I learned it from my Baba. It's not what you believe, it's what you do. It's what you do. It's what you do. It's what you're doing now. In a fraction of an inch, and loving all is one is supposed to be a cinch. Be a messenger, be a radical, be love. Be it. Be a messenger, be a radical. Be love.
If you had to use one line you have written to describe the artist you started out as, what would that line be?
Actually, four, Joe. I thought about this, and it's from the new record, and it's hey, did I ever tell you that I grew up with Red Omen? And boy, was he a neat kid. He had all sorts of really cool things to play with, like a plutonium spaceship lunchbox and a bathtub full of Lego. And I didn't believe you when somebody said that he fled with Jimi Hendrix to a UFO type base camp up on Machu Picchu. Like, well, how does that connect to your life? I mean, like, I loved Jimmy growing up, and at one point, I'm just like, everything I was Hendrix, Hendrix, Hendrix. And he had to get my hands on, listen to, watch. You know, I even went to Seattle. I was in Westport. I went to the gravesite and, you know, ripped a block of my hair out and stuck it in the ground. That's how, like, you know, impressed by him I was. And not only that, the plutonium. My dad was the chairman of the board at Uranium Corporation here in Canada, and he had brought some samples home. And I, as a kid, took them to school in my lunchbox for show and tell. I mean, this is 1977, so you know.
Sure.
And they sent me home when I told them what it was. And they told me not to bring it back, you know. And Lego was the thing of the day, man. If you had some Lego, your imagination just could go for days.
Near the end of a project, what is the emotion you find yourself more often feeling, and how long does it typically last?
You know, I think it's fear, and at the same time, like it's exhilaration and elation. Fear is the catalyst for so many things, it seems, and even inside of teaching, I think, and for years of teaching, I would think to myself, well, here's the information, but it's not like, you know, you're trying to like scare people into an idea. It's more like a dose of like a little bit of stinky stuff and a perfume that makes it that much more potent, you know. And I guess that's what it is. Here I'm going to show all my emotional ideas and everything to the world, and that's a fearful thing sometimes. You're unsure how it'll be taken. Will it be a good thing? Will it be a bad thing? And at the same time, it's elation because I'm so like excited to have that cathartic release and to share those ideas. I'm excited. It's a duality thing in a weird way. I've seen other artists and friends I know go through the same experience.
Dealing with critics, you always found it better to what?
I always thank them. Usually if it's like a negative statement, I always say thank you in some kind of a way. Like if they, you know, and it's you, and the response is like, what? Like, I just criticized or told you that I don't like what you did. And I'd be like, but I'm glad that you have an opinion. And usually that's the catalyst for it leading to somewhere else.
Okay, so I don't want you to play promoter for me. I want you to create a show, your dream show, and you're only allowed to resurrect one artist to put on this bill. So the rest of them have to be live artists. Give me your dream show.
Let's say I'll resurrect Jaco Pastorius, the famous American electric bass player, because he died way too young, and then put him, you know, like into like a more modern day electric scenario, but not like it wasn't electric, what he was doing back then, with somebody like Derek Trucks. So you have this sort of amalgam between sort of because Derek is very Indian in his sound and his approach to his slide playing, and at the same time there's that Americana kind of thing really going on in his playing Southern American electric guitar, and amalgamating those two ideas would, I think, would be really amazing. Throw Tom Waits in there at the same time to do some lyrics on top of that.
I would assume that Ed Ronan headlines the bill, right?
Well, hey, you know what? I'd be happy to. And if they want to jam, or hey, you know, I'll even just drive the bus.
Finding the playing field where you never had to be concerned about money, time, resources. Give us one way in which you would be the same artist you are right now, and one way in which you would be vastly different.
Life would be easier paying bills and all of those other kind of things. That's obvious, I think, for a lot of people. But at the same time, I know a lot of people with money, and they think that by buying, materialism is a weird thing, like to underline it. And for me, it's like, well, what can I do with it, that fame or power? Because to me, that says more about that artist or that individual. So I think I would wield more of my riches towards poverty and things that were, because in my life, to tell you the truth, Joe, I'm really happy and almost self-sufficient in many ways, because I'm a farmer. I grow my own food. That would never change. That's the side of me that would just keep doing what I'm doing, no matter what I owned or had. And the triumph of the ego in the 21st century is like, I heard a stat the other day that said people's most favorite pastime or hobby is shopping. So I mean, how can that be a hobby? It's edroman.net on the World Wide Web, obviously, and all my social networking buttons are there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my YouTube channel. Come on by, say hello. If you need to get in touch with me, you can contact my manager, Michael Stover, in Pittsburgh, PA. And hey, man, I gotta say thank you, and health and happiness, no hajlita, as they say in Slovak, to you and your family, Joe.
The same right back to you, Mr. Roman. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, as always. And everybody go check out his YouTube channel. It's definitely worth a subscribe. All right.
Joe.
Thank you, sir. You are an accomplished artist. I mean, you have accolades miles long. You've had awards. I mean, and I'm sure they all mean something to you. But is there one in particular that you really are very, very proud of, that, it has a special place in your heart?
Well, a couple of years ago, I was nominated for a Contemporary Artist of the Year by the IMEA, Cold Chambers, and that association. Wonderful group of people, and supporting independent dance, acting, music, you name it. And what's beautiful about that award is that it's based on the Guild's perception of what you've done. It's not just a popularity contest or money. When you apply for your Juno nominations, they want to see your sales reports. That's a big part of it, right? So when you're told that you're winning an award and a contemporary, and that contemporary, in other words, living now in this day and age, for your contributions to American culture, it's a pretty special feeling, because I've so often in my life, and I don't know I'll lose it here, but said to people, students, other people, the definition of an artist is one who has the ability to fuse their life with the rhythm of the times. Herbie Hancock. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. I've never tried to ever be the pop writing guru, the folk hero, the crazy electric Jimi Hendrix cross Jaco Pastorius bass player. I like all those aspects to my character and how they made me who I am. But I'm just happy to connect with people so that what I do now is a reflection of the moment that we live in. With the archaeology thing in the comment before, at one point, even pre-Indiana Jones, like kindergarten, dinosaur age, I wanted to be an archaeologist. I went around at the age of 6 going, I want to be an archaeologist. And still to this day, I watch a ton of archaeological shows. And it never ceases to amaze me, Joe, how often, thousands of years after the fact, people will go back. They'll find a pottery shard, some sort of beautiful ancient mosaic, and it's depicting in an artistic way the life that people lived. That's our job in a way, as who we are, as other than like, yeah, we're having fun on stage and we're doing what we're doing and going crazy and da-da-da-da. But we write, I write, I'm speaking for myself because of that reason. And I guess I really held true to my heart that statement, and I still do. That's the thing. Like, people said, well, you're up for 7 pre-Grammy nominations, and has any of it gone to your head? And egotistically, has it changed you? And da-da-da-da-da. I can't look back all the time. I have to keep moving forward in some way where I'm it's beautiful to get it. I will always
remember, cherish, hang them on my wall, shelf, whatever the award is. But I have to keep writing out of necessity.
Yeah.
It's something I have to keep doing.